Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome again to Jowins Fashion Ville. Thank you so much for being here. I feel so honored having you guys around. Existing subscribers, you guys are the real MVPs. Thank you so much. And then if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please don't forget to do so. Kindly hit on the red subscribe button and then be a part of our community. Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, so on this illustration for today, we'll be doing a cow neck dress. Okay, so I'll simply go ahead to work basically with our basic bodice block. So if you're yet to understand how to draft it, I'll drop the link in my description box. Okay, so basically I'll be working with the upper section of this pattern, and the lower part of the dress will be in the video, but I won't be going into details. Okay, so I'll simply focus on the upper parts of the dress, okay, which is the cow neck area. So what I'll simply do next is to cut the pattern, since there'll be no need for the lower part. So I'll simply go ahead to cut this out and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so what we'll simply do next is to transfer our waist dart to the bust line, since it's going to be a dartless front dress. So I'll simply go ahead to use the pivoting method to transfer the waist dart to the bust line. Okay, so you can basically transfer your dart to any part of your dress with the dart manipulation method. Okay, so I just label that the bust line, so the bust point, so that we can understand the process very well. So I'll simply go ahead to cut open the bust line as shown here. So that area, that particular line I'm touching is the bust line, so I'll cut it open to the bust point, quarter of an inch to the bust point, and then I'll close up the waist dart. So automatically I've transferred my waist dart to the bust line as shown here. So what I'll simply do next is on the armhole, I'll come down by 4 inch and then 4 inches, and then I will mark that point. Okay, so I'll go ahead to confirm the accuracy of that measurement, and then I'll go ahead to draw a straight line with my set square. Okay, and then I'm going to cut open these two lines, since we'll be incorporating the slash and spread method. Okay, so I'll go ahead to cut out the excess pattern paper before cutting open those lines I mentioned earlier. So guys, I simply went ahead to reposition our pattern on a new pattern paper using the center front as the guide, and then I secured it with a paper tape as shown here. So what I'll simply do is to open up each strip to my required measurement. So it depends on how elaborate you want your cow neck, okay? But be sure not to open up too much, okay? Just be moderate about it. Okay, so I was looking at between 9 to 10 inches from the neckline down to the bust point. Okay, so I think this is fine with me, so I'll go ahead to secure it with a paper tape, and then I'll do the needful from here. So what I simply did next was to use pattern master to draw a straight line. Okay, so I'll go ahead to do this, and then anything outside after the straight line is facing. Okay, so I simply went ahead to ensure that the facing could conceal the armhole for me. So I wanted the facing to conceal the armhole, so I'll go ahead and check if this will work for me. Okay. So it's quite obvious, guys, that the pattern paper did not permit me to, conceal the armhole with the facing. We didn't have enough pattern paper to get to that point, but we'll still proceed to use the alternative methods. Okay, so I'll simply go ahead to cut out the excess pattern paper as shown here. So guys, this is the extent our pattern paper or our facing could go, and then since it's not concealing the armhole for me, I feel that it's a bit too long. Okay, so I'll go ahead to reduce it, okay, to a reasonable size that suits me. So from that point I went ahead to mark or to measure about 3.5 inches. So you could do 4 inches. Between 3 to 4 inches is fine. Okay, so I went ahead to mark it, and then I cut off the excess pattern paper. So we have completed the process for the front pattern. As you can see, this is what it looks like. This is the back view. Okay, so we'll simply proceed to the back pattern. So for the back pattern, there's really nothing much. We just have a little modification, and since we'll be working with the upper section, like I mentioned earlier, the lower part will be relevant. So I'll simply go ahead to cut off the lower part and then the excess pattern paper, and then we can take it from there. So guys, we're done cutting our pattern for this illustration. Okay, so what we'll simply do next is to transfer the pattern to our main fabric. So we'll simply use this pattern to the back and the front to cut the main fabric and the lining where required. So yes, what I'll simply do here is to secure it with a pin, and then I'll cut out the pattern as shown here. So this is the front pattern. I'll simply detach it. Okay, so I'll simply detach the pattern from the fabric. So this is what we have here. Okay, and then Yeah, this is the cowl effect of our slash and spread. Yeah. Okay, so this is the cowl effect. Okay, so you could do more. It depends on how elaborate you want yours to be. So this is fine for me. Okay, so for the back, this is the back pattern. I've done the cutting of the main fabric and the lining as well. So I used the same fabric to cut out for the main and the lining. Okay, so this is what we have for the back pattern. So guys, I simply went ahead to cover the raw edges of the armhole and the facing with a bias tape. Okay, so since the facing didn't work, so I used the bias tape as the alternative method. Okay, for the front part of the dress. And then for the back part, since we have a lining, I used the lining to cover the raw edges. This is the dart. Okay, neatly finished. So I cover the raw edges of the armhole, the center front, and the neckline with the lining. So if you have watched to this point and you enjoy the video, please kindly subscribe. Okay, so this is the fabric for the lower part. Like I explained earlier, I won't be going into details. I'll drop a link relating to how you can cut this part of the fabric. Okay, so I'll go ahead to do the needful, and then what I did next was to attach the lower parts of the fabric to the upper parts, and I went ahead to use an overlocker to cover the shoulders. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so you can see how neatly finished the inner part of the dress looks like. So please don't always forget to iron your seams. Okay, so I simply went ahead to place the front and the back part of the dress, right sides facing each other. Then I went ahead to use my pin to secure the shoulders, as you can see me doing. Okay, so ensure that everything is well matched. Okay, and then you can go ahead to secure. Always use your pins before running your stitches. Okay, so guys, this is the final stage of the process. So I'll join the shoulders and the sides with accurate body measurements, and then we'll get to see the final look of the process. Okay, yeah, so thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video. Bye.